I think this sleeping pad is one of the most underrated sleeping pads on the market. If you're interested in a pad that is both lightweight, warm, and comfortable, then stick around as we go over everything that's good and bad about the Exped Ultra 5R. Starting with what's good, we have the weight. This pad only weighs 444 grams for the size regular, and then 654 grams for the regular wide. It's also quite warm. It has an R value of 4.8, which is on the higher end. It's going to get you through most 3-season use, even if you are out on frozen ground or in sub-freezing conditions. I've used this pad in those colder conditions and it's worked out phenomenally. It uses synthetic insulation, 160 grams per meter cubed of polyester insulation that's welded to both the top and the bottom. So as you inflate the pad, the insulation spreads out and fills the entire pad. It is really effective at preventing convective heat loss and keeps you really warm. The pad is quite comfortable. It's 3 inches thick, but then has 3.5-inch thick side rails in order to kind of keep you centered. It uses a vertical baffle system, which isn't the most comfortable baffling system out there, but is much more comfortable than horizontal baffles. And I found that the Exped is probably the most comfortable vertical baffle sleeping pad that I've ever slept on. Part of that is due to the material that it's made of. It uses a 20 denier polyester, which has a little bit of stretch to it and is softer than nylon. So it really kind of just combines into this really comfortable sleeping pad. And my wife, Steffi Poo, this is her pad of choice. She has access to dozens of sleeping pads. And when we go on backpacking trips, this is the pad she wants because of the warmth and the comfort. You also get a great 5-year warranty with this pad, and I've heard of Exped actually extending that warranty and giving people replacements if their pad has a manufacturing defect or fails in some way 6, 7, or 8 years after. Before we get into what's bad about the pad, let's go through the PackWizard.com comparables. We have the Nemo Tensor and the Big Agnes Repeat. The Nemo Tensor is going to be lighter weight, but it's not going to be as warm and it's not going to be as comfortable. The Repeat is going to be slightly more comfortable, but it's going to be heavier and not as warm. So what's bad about this pad? First of all, let's go with the price. It costs $200, which is pretty pricey for a sleeping pad, but not crazy when you get up into these higher end sleeping pads. But there are some less expensive options out there, especially if you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of weight. While the material is a plus for this pad, it's also a negative. Polyester, especially in 20 denier versions, is not super durable. We've seen that with the Nemo Tensor line. So hopefully this is a more durable sleeping pad. I haven't had any issues, and I've had this pad for a couple of years now, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of issues out in the reviews online. So far, so good, but you do have that warranty if you do have a failure. Even though this pad is lightweight, it is bulky. Once you roll it all up, it's going to take up a lot of space in your pack, and that's just due to the nature of synthetic insulation. Pads that use a reflective insulation are going to be a lot more compact. There's also some reviews out there that talk about it being a little bit noisy. I haven't had a problem with that, but I sleep with earplugs and noise doesn't bother me a whole lot. But if you are someone who's really sensitive to noise, just keep that in mind. I'm also not the biggest fan of the valves. Well, it's great that there's 2 valves. There's an inflation valve and a deflation valve. You can use the schnozzle pump in order to inflate it really effectively. I don't like that the valves are on the bottom of the pad. It makes it so that if you do need to add a little bit of air once you're actually laying on the pad, it's more difficult. And if you need to adjust the firmness of the pad by pressing on the inflation valve just to kind of let a little bit of air out, it's going to be a lot more difficult. If you want to go with the pad that has the best warmth to weight ratio, check out my review of the Thermarest X-Lite. This is the NXT version, which is the new version to market. And it's just a great pad if you don't care as much about comfort.